Oh, it's nice out
So it's got to offer today.
Hey,
Look at that.
oh, beautiful morning. Oh, right. Time for tea. Time for tea.
You know what? I think it actually rained a bit last night.
Yeah, no, that's great. It's made everything so fresh and the ground's kind of nice and... I'm looking forward to this. Okay, it's my tea bag. There you go.
Thank you.
Ooh, this is nice.
Yummy,
I'm
yummy.
dying for that cup of tea. It's funny.
Do you know what I thought, Sue? That
Yeah?
since it rained last night and you swept on the ground, we should try out some tracking. I should show you some tracking stuff.
Yeah, okay. What? You're going to get Stephen to run across and the chickens and...
No, I thought you could run across actually, so we can do some human sport.
A human spore?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've got nice big feet, so you'll be able to see them very clearly.
Yeah.
Okay then, but don't expect to turn me into a tracker. It's the last thing I want to do. You know what they do with the trackers? You know what they do with the trackers. They stick them on that seat at the front of the vehicle, right at the front on the bonnet.
Oh.
So they're the first thing that gets thumped if the rhino decides to turn around and charge. I know, because I was in a vehicle that happened.
But you know, tracking is really interesting. It tells a story. I'm gonna just go through some easy stuff over there, and we'll just see. I'm gonna test you. I'm gonna put you to the test.
Well, I need my glasses.
Okay. What do I know? I'm not an optician.
Okay. All right,
Okay.
come on.
All right.
Lead on, Macduff. Let's go.
Filmar du det här?
Och sound recording.
Hi and welcome back to episode number 3 of Wildlife Photography in Lockdown, Cape Town, South Africa. Today I've decided to talk about tracking, which is an art that I have used many times in the bush, and it is a wonderful way to connect. When we learn to read the signs in nature, in nature and connect, when we learn to connect with the spoor and the signs in nature, it is like reading a book. What we're going to do, we are going to look for spoor. And when you track, you look for the meaning in the spoor. We will be able to find an animal by finding the spoor on the ground, but we'll also be able to establish when that animal was there, if it was running, if it was perhaps carrying a prey, or if it was a prey running away from a predator. When you talk about tracking in a normal environment, we can use that skill to make decisions and to protect ourselves against possible dangers. And we do that all the time. So what is important when we track is that we enhance our senses. and there are different techniques that we use to practice and get better at using our senses so that they become more acute. Because very often we walk in a tunnel with a tunnel vision, and we don't see anything that goes on our sides. We don't hear anything else except from all the sounds that are around us, and it becomes a blur of sounds. Whereas when we start really listening, we can pick out specific sounds from all this blur that we can hear if we make that a focus. The exercise I did earlier today with Sue was to demonstrate how much you can actually see from just one footstep in the sand.
Okay, and here you see my toes, and I have got this particular pattern in my foot. Why don't you do the same one next to me to start with, and you can see that there is a difference in the way that we walk. So let's have a look.
Whether the person was walking fast or slow, you can see whether it's actually a man or a woman.
This is what we call the floor of the foot, which is here on yours. Right? Yeah, that makes sense.
Figure out which direction the person has been going off to, or if they've been going straight. You can figure out if they're carrying something heavy, or if they've been even looking in a different direction.
Everything like this. And then something happened here, and you can see that there is cracks in the sand here thing. So it's an eruption of sand that I pushed out by turning. This is the highest point of the wall. So this would be the direction. So even though my toes are forward, that's not where I was going. And you know that because you saw me.
Yeah.
What I'm going to do, I'm going to take a few steps in the sand, and I'm going to try to trick Sue. You stand with your back, okay? Yeah. Okay. She's going to have to work out what happened in the actual movement of my body. Okay.
So you're going that way.
And then you'll make an arrow like
That's
this.
it.
Right.
And you were going quite fast.
Can you see now, determine from looking at this, where do you think I went next?
It's not another footprint, is there?
And it was quite fascinating to see that with that little bit of instruction that Sue got from me during those few moments, she was able to read those spoor in a completely different way than she would have had she not been given the prior knowledge of what to look for.
This is pushed more this way. That's facing more that way. I don't think you were going that way.
No.
I think you were going more this way.
Okay.
Oh yes, didn't see that just now. Hang on while I crawl over. So that's not bad.
That's
Hey,
perfect.
Look, there we go.
It's
Now
very,
you've
very
got
good.
heel, still with a deeper to take off
So
and
my
jump.
foot came in and pushed
Yeah,
like that, and pushed this whole thing out.
yeah.
We do anti-poaching, which means that we often follow spoor that we find in nature of poachers, and we find places where they have been. We find traces of animals that they've killed, and we're going to have to try to unravel the story behind it so that we can find the poachers. So in terms of conservation, when it comes to protecting the animals, tracking is an absolutely essential part. Become what you follow. If you become what you follow, if you go into that body and you imagine that you are that lion, and where are you going and why? Because we're all going somewhere, and so the animals, they're also going somewhere. And if you can put yourself in those shoes or in those paws, you'll be able to find your subject so much easier. So becoming aware of your environment around you, as well as become what you're looking for, is definitely one of the great answers to advanced tracking. When we tune into Mother Nature with all our senses, we become aware of another world that might have otherwise passed us by.
Is part of nature's plan. He's living off the land. He's an actor without a stage, and he cannot read or write. He's a savage to the west. He's adapting, surviving every
I
day.
couldn't sleep if I drank coffee now.
No. Well, this morning,
Yeah.
that was so interesting because I didn't realise just how complicated tracking is. I thought it was just like, that's a lion spoor, that's an elephant footprint, and that's about as far as I get.
And that's not what it's all about,
No,
is it?
no.
It's reading the book of nature. You reveal more and more information and you get into the story.
I know, it's quite fascinating.
It is
I can
indeed.
understand why you've become sort of so involved with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
Yeah.
you said you were going to show me how it is different at night, because I didn't even think you could track at night.
Yeah, you know what? It's really cool tracking at night. So what we're going to do now, I think we'll just go over to the little beach area and just like do 1 or 2 tracks, and just so that you can see what I really talk about.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Find it in the shed. He will follow it to hell and back again. He's the tracker.
on. Everything.
He's a tracker. He's a tracker. He's my friend. Ukulanze, ukulanze in Latine, ukulanze in Latine, ukulanze non rose. Here's the man we call the tracker. He has the eyes to see, living on his instinct year to year. He's at one with the prey. He's part of nature's way. He's living in the twilight of his day.